Hello and welcome back to another video. I'm Charlie, and today I wanted to go make a follow-up video on the review I did on the Spigen iMac G3 iPhone case. So, almost a year ago, I made a video on this iPhone 8 Plus case that I got on Kickstarter, and it's basically a case that's supposed to mimic the look of an old iMac G3 with the translucency, the colors, the design, and everything. So I want to make a follow-up video on that case because I wanted to, after almost a year, and I wanted to make like a video on like how well it's held up and if I would still recommend it and buy it now. So anyway, so here is the case in question, and as you can see, if you look closely, it's actually pretty beat up, but I blame myself a bit for this. So my daily driver is an iPhone 7 Plus Red, and the reason why I got it in red was because I wanted it to match the iPhone that I had. So that's what I decided to do. So this is basically a follow-up video on how it's fared and some of the issues I've had with it, but then also some of the good things about it. So let's start with the good things. So the first thing that I really like is I like how the shape is to hold it. It's really comfortable to hold, and it still holds a pretty good form factor even with the cool design and like the multiple pieces, and like I love the translucency. I love the look of it. It looks really cool, and it's definitely a good conversation piece if you own one of these, and it's a pretty neat case in that section. I also really like the durability, even though it looks pretty beat up now. Well, actually, the durability is questionable. I'll get back to that in just a minute, but on durability, like keeping my phone safe, it's done a really good job. My phone hasn't cracked at all, even though I've dropped it a lot, and my phone is still perfectly fine, even though the case looks pretty battered and bruised, but I'll get to that in a second. And then also, it's just, that's about it. And I also like the iMac on the inside, although it's a bit unfortunate you can't really see it from the outside, but it's pretty neat though. Anyway, so that's all I really have to say. However, there are some downsides to having this case, and I'm going to go over some of them. So, first of all, this case I've only had for 1 year, so just take that in note. So basically, I've had this for a year, and I've used it for everyday use. So I'm now going to go over some of the downsides of having this case. So, first of all, probably the biggest issue I had were these buttons. So basically, these buttons are like these plastic buttons, and they connect to the plastic outer shell of the case, and they're held on by one side here is like connected to the actual case, and the other side is just like open, so it like bends in like that. And the buttons feel good. At first they were a bit like stiff, but they're not that stiff anymore. But the problem is that after like pressing the buttons a lot, over the span of like maybe 3 months, the plastics gets worn out, and then eventually the buttons fall out, which is why I have them taped on here like so. And this happened with all the buttons, and that's probably one of the biggest problems I have with this case. It would make a lot more sense if this middle part here, like all cases, has like, instead of like these little holes in them, instead like the buttons were actually integrated into like this inner piece of plastic, because when they're on the outer pieces of plastic, like so, they fall off really easily. But it was like a lot of other phone cases, like here, just a sec. Let me get another phone case I had before this. Here, look, so I have this other phone case here. This phone case is pretty crappy, so this does not deserve a review. But as you can see, like on this other phone case, the buttons are like on the inside, and they're like, even if they were to fall off this piece, they'd still stay inside, because there's like, it's this part of the bottom part of the button is larger than the outside part where the button goes out, so the button can't fall out at all. But the problem with this one is that the buttons can fall out, and that's one of the biggest problems with this case. And and it's really hard to find them if you do lose them, and you can't even press the button and you can't even press the actual button if these buttons are missing. It's impossible. You have to have really long nails to do it, and it's annoying to do. So that's one of my biggest problems with it. Another problem I have is this rubber piece down here. So this rubber piece is not, it's pretty durable, but the only problem is age. Now, plastic and rubber ages pretty badly, but it depends on how old it is. However, the problem with this plastic is that I have a few problems with it. So the first thing, as you can see, it's pretty yellow, and even though it's only like a year old, this is yellowed a lot, because as you can see in the original, you can see that it's a lot more yellow than it used to be. So that's probably from from it being in the sun and stuff, which I don't really like. All the other parts haven't really discolored, and it's not the plastic underneath, as you can see through this crack here. It's the actual rubber bit. So that's a big problem. But then another problem is that it also gets really brittle as well. So when I've dropped it, it's large chunks have come off. And then another problem I also found is that these parts here, these are not from drops. You see these little things from below the speaker grills. Those things just cracked by themselves. I didn't drop it on this side. Well, I don't think I did, but these crack and it's not very good. And then eventually these fall off. So that's a problem I have. And then also, all right, so we're going to go back to durability now. So I wanted to talk about now how durable this case is itself. So I said that it's good at protecting your phone. However, the only problem is that these parts, here, the plastic parts and everything this phone is made out of is pretty breakable. Despite it being really good at protecting the phone, it's not very good at protecting itself. As you can see, lots of cracks, I can accept the dents and stuff, but the cracks, they just get bad, and then eventually the pieces just fall off, and it's pretty annoying. And then one final thing that I have that I wanted to complain about is this silver bit. So the silver bit is painted plastic. Well, it's painted rubber, and the problem is that it wears off. You can sort of see it here. It wears off, and I put this in my pocket a lot, and the paint sort of wears off. So I wanted to mention that because that's kind of also a pretty big thing, but otherwise this case has been pretty good. Now, the biggest problem I have with this case is the cost. So I paid $25 for this case because it was Kickstarter, and the product was just starting up, and they just needed some money to help fuel their dream and stuff, and to make this case possible. And I believe you can buy it now at the Spigen website. However, the problem is that this costs $35. Yeah, $35 for this case. And my biggest problem with just phone cases in general, they're just so expensive. And then this one in particular, this one isn't even that, I mean, I'm not going to say it's bad, it's just not really, I don't know, it just doesn't age too well. So after a year, you're going to have to spend another $35 on a new case. And I don't feel like spending another $30 on this new case, so I'm probably going to get a different case. But that's my biggest problem, is that the price is pretty expensive, and it doesn't age well, so you're going to have to get a new case anyway. But people seem to buy phone cases a lot more often than I thought, but anyway. So would I still recommend this? Well, I'd recommend it if you're the type of person who likes to switch their phone case a lot and have multiple cases. I'd get this, and this is a really good case in my opinion. It's held up decently well. The only problem is that if you plan on keeping it for a long time and only having one phone case like me, I wouldn't exactly recommend this as a long-term thing. I mean, it's neat and it's gimmicky and I like it, but it doesn't hold up very well. And that's pretty unfortunate because this is a pretty neat product. However, it just doesn't really hold up too well. I mean, in this case, for example, I've had this for the same amount of time as this case. This case, I've dropped a lot more, and as you can see, there's no cracks or anything. This is a different plastic, and it feels a lot stronger than this one, to be honest. This one's a lot less flexible, and this is a really cheap and awful case, to be honest. So, that's not really good, but all I really have to say is that this case does not age well, and that's really the only reason why I want to make this follow-up video, just to let everyone know that it's not really a good aging case. So, yeah. On a scale of 1 to 10, would I still recommend this? So, I already mentioned that I would recommend it if you have a lot of different phone cases and you like switching it a lot. But if you're like me and have one phone case, it doesn't age very well. But while it is still good, I would rate it like a 6 out of 10, mainly because the buttons are a crucial feature, and they really messed up with these buttons. So the buttons are the biggest part, and one of the biggest reasons why I wouldn't recommend this case long term. And just in general, even though even like after like 4 months of owning this case, the buttons already fell off, and that's not even that much. Out of 4 out of 12 months, that's awful. So it's had this tape on it for most of its life, and that's pretty unfortunate. But there are other cases, like, I guess you could find, that are similar to this. Not exactly similar, just like clear cases, and they're a lot better than this. I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe they might make a redesign, but this is a limited production phone case, so they're not going to have this. So they might not have this for much longer. So they might not even change it at all. But it's kind of unfortunate. This is a pretty good This would be a pretty good product without its flaws. But otherwise, that's all I have to say. So, oh yeah, and I also wanted to mention that this glossy part here also scratches up pretty well, as you can see. So, but that's normal. I mean, that doesn't really bother me too much, because that's just normal wear and tear. But other parts I just don't understand too well. So I guess that will wrap it up for today's video. You can decide yourself on if you should get this case or not. I don't know. I mean, it really depends. I mean, if you already have it, then that's fine. But if you have to spend $30 on it, I don't know. I mean, they don't even sell these in stores, I don't think, because, I mean, they have these things, which means they probably will go in stores at some point. But I haven't seen them in any phone case stores, but they're probably going to be pretty expensive if they do ever go into phone case stores. But even just in general, phone cases are just so expensive. I went to a Verizon recently, and the phone cases there, they were like $39 for like a clear case. So I don't even know if I'll be getting a new case soon. I mean, this case is still usable, but I don't know. It's just held together by tape. But otherwise, that's all I really have to say about this for today. So yeah, that was my follow-up review on the Spigen iMac G3 iPhone case, the classic C1. And I hope you all enjoyed this, and I hope you also got a good idea on how durable it is, how well it holds up. And this is from an actual customer. This is an authentic product sent to me from their Kickstarter, and it was about a year ago since I did the unboxing. So yeah, that's all I really have to say about it. So I hope you all enjoyed. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.